Hello, and welcome to my second episode of Emerging Insights, where I am attempting to share my journey of self-love. Um, it might seem strange to some people, I don't know, that I'm calling this a podcast. I think that's probably because I'm mostly talking about myself and kind of doing some verbal processing for this, and that might seem more like a vlog or video diary or something like that. But that's just, it feels like where I needed to start. Um, and I wasn't even planning on making today's topic my second episode. It's actually something that sort of I realized in the last couple of days and felt like I needed to talk about it now, um, before getting into what I'd planned for the second episode. And it has to do with trying to understand myself better as part of this process. Um, I didn't think I would talk so much about my neurodiversity this early on. I actually, especially when I first was mapping out episodes, I was very keen on the idea of doing sort of a chronological overview of pivotal events in my life, starting with what I talked about in the last episode, the moment when I realized I didn't love myself. Uh, but what I'm going to talk about today has everything to do with how I'm coming to understand myself in light of learning that I have both ADHD and am autistic. Um, and especially like something that has seemed very interesting to me is I care a lot about context, and it does come from a place of fear, like a fear of misunderstanding, a fear of miscommunication, and it and a desire to be understood. Um, and that essentially, I'll go ahead and say it because it'll probably be important that I say it now so that I don't, with my ADHD brain, divert myself and then lose track of my original point, which happens all the time to me. Um, I realized recently that I haven't completely understood myself. And how I kind of came to realize this is with certain people in my life, I've had this deep need to feel understood and to feel seen. And so I want to like provide as much context as possible because somehow in my mind that makes me think that'll make my beliefs, my actions, behaviors, etc., more understandable to them. Um, and so to as I was sort of thinking about this, to realize um, really what I'm trying to do, and maybe why it's been kind of a struggle, is because I'm actually I haven't actually completely understood myself. But the key reason for why that is and why this feels like such an important thing for me to realize is I've been comparing myself with what seems to be the societal norms. Like, there are choices that I've made, especially recently, that have felt right, and yet they seem counter to what a responsible adult would choose to do. Um, and I want to be open and vulnerable and transparent. And at the same time, like, there's still sort of lingering fears that I have to go into too much detail. Um, but I'll have to talk about this because it feels relevant. I haven't worked a normal job for a few years now and have primarily been um, supported by my family. Um, and for someone in their late 40s, there it feels like tricky. And for someone who's I'm literally attempting to talk about this and trying to tune into myself to see if this feels wise. I started recording with the intention of trying to make this a conversation with myself. And I think maybe that's what I'm stumbling with is every time I try to explain and provide context, I'm not dialoguing with myself. I'm trying to explain myself to people who don't know me. Don't, some might not even know my name. If you're someone who doesn't know me personally, obviously I haven't even divulged my name yet. um, okay, so if I purely think about what I was starting to say about having this realization that I've been struggling to understand myself because I've been trying to do that against the backdrop of societal norms. And that's with the knowledge that I actually my neurodivergence and a lot of my beliefs as well make it difficult to um, ascribe to many societal norms or expectations. Um, the kind of standard script that it seems like people are expected to follow, the life path that people are expected to follow. Find a job, find a person to spend your life with, have a family. um, there are reasons why some of those things didn't work out for me that I will get into in other episodes. Um, and at the same time, I also am glad that things have ended up the way that they are. And that's even crazy. Actually, no, it's not crazy. It's really good that I'm saying that right now, to feel myself saying that and to feel like this is right, because I've had a really, really difficult couple of years. And um and to know that I actually do feel grateful that I am where I am is pretty awesome. That I'm like kind of actually realizing this in this moment. This is huge for me. um and clearly that's because I'm really trying to dig into this epiphany that I had, that how I've been struggling to understand myself is because I've been doing it against this current cultural and societal backdrop. um, there's a, I'm not really going to go down this road, but I'll just say there's a lot of messed up stuff happening in the world right now, and I'm not happy with a lot of it. And yet at the same time, I do actually hold a belief that things happen for a reason, that ultimately we'll be able to come out of the current state of the world stronger and better and even more united than we've been up to this point. Um, so, wow, that's really cool to feel that. Um, so I know I've meandered quite a bit. And so for those of you that have stuck with me, I really do appreciate that you're willing to ride the waves of my meandering thoughts. um, okay, again, in the spirit of this idea of emerging insights, I really want to lean into this dialoguing with myself. And um, and I even mentioned that in my first episode, like in the recent weeks and months that I've been developing um, episodes for this podcast, that is part of how this journey is going to unfold, is this sort of like dialoguing my present self with my past self. And one of the things that kind of struck me is when I think about what I was talking about in the first episode as as I realized that I didn't love myself, I had this one word that came to mind was compulsion. Like when I do my pauses, it's because there's probably like 30 words popping around in my head and I'm trying to find the exact right one. So, compulsion, desire to understand why that belief formed in my mind because it seemed so um, counter to the life that I'd led. Um, and so that carries this sort of energy of being analytical and trying to rationalize and feeling like I actually can't even make any changes until I fully understand what led to me developing this belief. Um, and here I am now, too, like talking about trying to understand and rationalize and realizing why it's been difficult and probably even why I've struggled to like communicate with other people in a way where I feel understood. Again, is like I said, because it seems to be because I'm contextualizing it in the standard expectations of how society functions. This is hard. So if I take that backdrop away, what does that what does that look like? What does that mean? Because I think this is the key to helping me move in the direction that I've been trying to move into, to be more whole, to feel less conflicted and divided within myself. Um, another big theme that's going to be prevalent throughout this entire podcast is paradox. Um, like I was really actually conflicted about deciding to talk about this idea for my second episode because I was really stuck on what I have to talk about isn't going to make sense if people don't have a more complete picture of what I've been through to get here. Um, and yet it just felt so important to talk about, and I thought it would be interesting to see what would happen if I just tried to, instead of like purely like journaling and stuff like that, um to see what happens if I pushed the record button. So here I am. And maybe this will be a horrific experiment that loses a lot of people, but see, I can't think about that. No, I can think about that because I am thinking about that. Oh gosh. Okay. Um, one of the questions that led to me having this realization is something that came up in therapy the other few few days ago was how do I advocate for myself? Um, okay, I guess I will go ahead and talk about this because it's incredibly relevant. I've had a difficult few years because my mom's older and her mind isn't what it used to be. She doesn't have full-blown dementia, um, but I have taken on a lot in trying to help her um, for the last few years. And it's been an adjustment because I was diagnosed with ADHD 5 years ago. And like I said, I've only had my autism diagnosis for a few months and having both of those pieces of information have been incredibly enlightening because ways that I've been beating myself down for my entire adult life, I thought it was me. And like when I had that ADHD diagnosis, man, it was such a relief because it was like, oh my God, it's not me. My brain works differently. That was an amazing feeling. It was such a relief. Um, but like it also wasn't the whole picture. So that's why like some things helped a lot. Like there is a medication that helps me with that. And my therapist that I've been working with knows a lot about ADHD, so she has been really helpful. And I found some other supports. And I guess when it came to the point where it was clear my mom was going to need more assistance and stuff like that, I was only just barely beginning to like figure out how to take care of myself effectively. And I mean, I just like there's so many things that you'd think this shouldn't be so hard. Like even back like in my 20s when I had a steady job and was earning a good paycheck, like I had trouble keeping on top of my bills. And it wasn't because I was struggling with money, it was because I just didn't pay them when like I struggled to actually like follow through with receiving the bill in the mail and writing a check and mailing it back and all that kind of stuff. And it wasn't until I finally like set up automatic pay that wasn't an issue anymore. And um and it's just so common to like have, you know, thoughts about things that seem hard, keeping my home organized and not losing stuff and so on and so forth. And um, people trying to be helpful and supportive and it's still sort of like they frame it in this way of why don't you just, do this? It's so simple, like, but it's not. It's not so simple for me. And now I know why. Um, task initiation is really hard for me. And then even when I do, it's like then I, make a little bit of progress with something but ultimately abandon it. um, and here I have done it to myself again. I started talking about my diagnoses, and there's a reason why I started to give that context, and now I've forgotten what that point was that I was ultimately going to make. Um, I'd been talking about sorry. There are going to have to be some edits in this video because I keep losing my train of thought. And I've actually also already attempted to make this recording once yesterday and ultimately decided I was going to have to re-record, start over. Um, One of my intentions is to make these as organic and unfiltered as possible, which is kind of ironic for me to say because I filter so much of what comes through my head. um, and see that in and of itself. Okay, so that's a train of thought that is occurring to me is letting go of the need to filter my words. Um, because it's coming from a place of fear. And fear is such a divisive energy. Like, so if I let go of fearing that I will be judged or that I won't be understood, then I don't have to worry about what I say because people will hear it how they hear it. Hopefully, they'll hear it in a way that is helpful. So, okay, earlier I was talking about how do I advocate for myself? Oh, right. And then see, I finally found the train of thought. And then I started talking about my mom and how that's been hard. And so, like, all my energy was focused on her because she's my mom. I love her. Like, she talks about how much she loves me. Well, I love her too. Like, I know the depth and breadth of the love. It's unending and vast. Um, Sadly, though, because of that, I ended up neglecting myself more and more. to the point that I got really burned out. And that ultimately is what led to me, because I felt guilty because I was less and less able to do things that needed to be done, to take care of certain things, to like ensure like her payments were taken care of for various utilities and things, and medical appointments and all of that kind of stuff. And it's like I barely was figuring out how to do this for myself, and now like I had her and myself to deal with, and it was just really, really hard. And I felt myself feeling more and more defiant, more and more unwilling to do anything but just curl up in a ball and like ignore it all. um, which is not helpful and it's not healthy. And all this time I've been mindful, like you can only be helpful to someone if you yourself have the energy for that. So if I was neglecting myself more and more, then it's understandable that I reached extreme burnout. And that's ultimately what led to me getting a more comprehensive psychiatric evaluation, because I'm like, why? Like it's like I want to do this stuff and yet I don't, for her or myself. And that's how I came to discover that I'm autistic as well as ADHD. And that was very useful on one hand, and also like, and it explained a lot of why my mind felt kind of at odds with itself all the time. um, because like I do really like to have sort of system, rule, framework, series of steps that I can kind of follow. And so if it's something like I'm dealing with, like, um, when I helped my mom move more close to me, uh, I ended up inheriting her car, for lack of a better term. And it took me almost 2 years. No, it took me like 18 months to like transfer the title over and all of that kind of stuff. And it had to do with like all the steps involved. And that in and of itself, it's like on one hand, that's not that complicated of a thing, and yet on the other hand, it felt incredibly complicated to me because of all the steps it required. Um, I'm like, I know I'm not, um, I know that I have intelligence and capability to like figure that stuff out. It's just something about the way my mind works that gets me feeling overwhelmed. So anyway, so like I have realized that there are parts of me that have felt very neglected and ignored. And that's where this notion that came up in therapy of figuring out how I can advocate for myself, and somewhere in me like kind of reflecting on that, that's where this realization, oh, I don't actually completely understand myself. And so if I'm not feeling understood within myself, then how can I feel like I can actually communicate in a way that could be understandable to others? And again, like I said before, it also feels like I have it too much tied up in the norms of functional society. But like, I know the society is really built for neurotypical brains. And that's part of the challenge. That's part of the struggle. And when I am in a community of neurodivergent people, like there's this amazing new conference that happens in Austin, Texas called Neurodiversion, um, developed, created by Chris Gillibo and an amazing team. Um, like it's happened for 2 years now, and each time it's like it's such a relief to be in that community because they just get it. It's so amazing and such a relief. Um, so I don't know how many like emerging insight, like, mm, I hope I have the courage to upload this video. I was hoping more would come out of this, but I guess there are things that came out of this attempt to talk about this idea. I guess what I'm struggling with a little bit is knowing that the context that's made it difficult for me to feel like I can better understand myself. It's there are so many systems in this world that really are not supportive for people like me and people not like me, except for the fact that they're also neurodivergent. Um, but it was pretty huge. So I guess I'll leave with that. That's a good positive way to end this is I realized I am actually really grateful for how my life has gone and as difficult as especially the last couple of years have been, like to know that I actually am grateful for what I've been through is really good to realize. So that's a good place to end this. And I had said in the last video I didn't have a good closer, and then I kind of came out with one. So I'm going to stick with it, even though it also feels slightly cheesy. But people who know me might get a little bit of why I say it this way. With love and harmony, thanks for listening.